Hello, Mr. Philly. Welcome to my podcast. So my podcast, as you know, is about supply chain affecting small businesses. And basically, I picked this topic because not only has it been advertised on the news, but I've also experienced it firsthand. From my parents, hearing about it from them, to reading about it on the news, to even firsthand working and actually seeing the shortages going on. Various things that I consume and buy from the store, including creatine, chicken, beef, and pepperoni, just to name a few, have been very hard to get lately. I figured that it would be a no-brainer to interview members of my family, my mom and dad, who deal with this supply chain crisis on the daily. Another thing that sparked me to do this topic was that I recently ordered a universal fitness machine, kind of like a squat rack, cables, Smith machine, and I was really excited to get it actually. And it was supposed to come 2 days after I purchased it, and it took about 8 weeks after that date of purchase to arrive at my house because it was stuck on a boat off the coast of California. And the bench that came with it came like 2 days ago, and it's been a very hard time getting it. But I know I take that stuff like that for granted. I know that there are a lot of people out there who are struggling and really can't get necessities. So a little bit of data. So what are some ways that this supply chain has affected small businesses in general? So according to the U.S. Census Small Business Pulse Survey conducted between October 11th and October 17th, approximately 45% of small businesses said that they're having domestic supplier delays, so out of country. And the number is up from 26.7% during the first week of the year. This survey was done in October, so it certainly went up since then. And a first-hand account that I actually found that I thought that was very interesting was small business owner based right in our backyard in Baltimore, Renee Kirby, the owner of Marie's Cafe, works to provide baked goods from her home and in pop-up shops in her community. She put into words her frustration of not being able to order essentials to run her business. Quote, "We just can't serve the same beverages, or sometimes any beverages, because they don't have the cups we need in stock," Kirby said, adding that buying these essential products from other suppliers increases the price, making it difficult for the consumer to buy these products. Now, in specific, I did small businesses. Obviously, the big corporations are struggling, still struggling to get the products they need, but it's particularly affecting small businesses, mom and pop shops, because the little guy, obviously, it's just much harder for them to stay afloat. And we've seen throughout the past couple years during the pandemic, and even more recently now, we've just been seeing a lot of businesses going under because they can't financially afford to stay open. It's really sad, but hopefully as a country we'll get back to normal and everything will be good, just okay. And stay tuned for the next 2 podcasts where I will be bringing on guest speakers who will touch into more detail about the issue. Hello. In today's podcast, I'll be bringing on 2 special guests, my parents, co-owners of Pizza John's in Essex, Maryland. My mom, who's in charge of inventory and ordering for Pizza John's, is sitting right here. My dad, who's a part owner, is sitting right here. So welcome. So, without further ado, let's jump right into it. So Dad, how have the supply chain shortages been affecting Pizza John's?
So over the past couple of years, we've experienced many supply chain issues throughout the whole gamut of the business, from chicken wings to pepperoni to cheese to French fries, and it's not slowing down. They don't have workers to process the stuff. We can't get the product. And the prices have doubled on everything over the past couple of years due to the coronavirus and people not going to work and supply chain issues. And it's been a big impact on our business. So we've had to find inferior products, or which we never try to do. Maybe not inferior, but they're subpar. They're not exactly what we've been serving over the years, and we're not getting back to normal. We're trying. My wife and I, who run the business, just try to find whatever we can to keep things going.
You have anything to say?
Well, I handle a lot of the paper supply as well as the food, and
Speak up so the alarm. It's okay.
and it's a lot of the same issues where you have to substitute boxes, paper goods. You can't get a lot of your printed items. We're fortunate enough where we deal with many vendors, not just one, but over the years we've developed relationships with more than one. So that's worked in our favor. If one doesn't have something, we jump to another one and we kind of fill in the gaps that way. So we've just been piecemealing things together as we can, but it's been challenging. And on top of supply chain issues, we've got price increases, which are really, really just gouging us, and unfortunately we have to turn that over to the customer who ultimately pays. So it's just been a hard road, and no one really knows what the future looks like at this point. So definitely challenging times.
There's no light at the end of the tunnel right now. Every day we're faced with adversity and just supply issues. It's every day we get another phone call from someone else who says we don't have this, we don't have that, and it's terrible. And it's not getting any better anytime soon.
All right. So I've noticed, in particular, the paper products with the Pizza John's logo especially struggle to stay in stock. Talk me through who the paper product supplier is and why this is.
Well, it's a lot of what I just touched on. A lot of our paper supply goods that we buy come from China, and a lot of those products have been on container ships. Our vendors have not been able to get in their goods. If we're waiting on printed, if it's a 4 to 6 week lead time on printed products, now it's 13 to 16 weeks, and the price has gone up 20, 30%. So it's just using non-printed items to substitute. We just try to fill the gaps where we can on paper.
Yeah, and the paper companies can't get stuff. They can't get in the production line. They just can't keep up. The big boys come first. The Walmarts and the Targets and the Costco's of the world come before us. So the little mom and pop companies suffer. And we're just trying to get to the bottom of this and get stuff back on the shelves as soon as possible for the little guy.
A lot of this has actually forced us to make changes that for instance, does this bag, is it really important to have our logo on this bag? Maybe we switch to a non-printed bag and save a little money that way. Or our pizza boxes, instead of a nice white pizza box with a red ink and our logo clear as day, a really nice logo, maybe we switch to a plain brown box.
It's been across the board that we're trying to adapt, and eventually we're hoping that things get back to normal. But right now we're not seeing clearly on that.
All right. Thank you. This is my third and final podcast. Piggybacking off of my second podcast, where do you see this supply chain issue going forward, and what measures have you guys done in response to this?
I don't see this going anywhere anytime soon, as long as this virus is around. We're going to be struggling with this. People have to get back in the workforce and start doing their jobs, and then we'll get back to normal. Whether it be printed goods or chicken parts or steak production, whatever it might be, if people don't go back to work, we're not going to get back to normal. Period. It's time to get back to work.
Any thoughts?
I'm hopeful that once we brave this storm of COVID, which isn't going to be around forever, once we get through that and people realize that there's no more government money coming in to help them, and that money runs dry, that it is time to get back to work, and especially the restaurant industry, hospitality industry, people need to, well, in every sector, there are jobs missing and people need to fill those jobs, and there will come a day where those jobs will be filled again. I'm hopeful. So I hope that's been helpful.
So I know a recent crisis is also a lot of people due to the supply chain, not only just part of the supply chain, but a lot of people are leaving their jobs and finding other things, either other things to do or they're unemployed. How has this affected you? And have you seen this issue around the restaurant?
Yes, we've seen this around the restaurant. It's very difficult getting people to come to work. It's a lot of excuses. I think people play the COVID card way too much. They go out and get a test, they want to take 10 days off, and it's just not working out. I mean, it's time to get back to work, and for everyone to buckle down and get back, to their daily routine.
We've lost people.
We've lost a good amount of people. I've hired a lot of people, but again, and I can use today as an example, that people just don't want to come to work, including today. Oh my God, I have COVID. I got tested. Well, if you're vaccinated, after 5 days, get back to work. Period. That's what CDC says. And we've been at a loss for employees. We don't have enough people to help run the restaurant. We're working our tails off to keep things moving, forward for the betterment of the business, our employees, so everything keeps on, everything gets.
Yes, the people who are working harder than ever. Working to fill those gaps for the few key people that we've lost in the past 6 months. People who jump ship, who are tired of working in a restaurant. It's been an opportunity to try something else
But the government hasn't helped anything out throughout this whole thing by giving money away, keeping people from coming to work, giving benefits. Okay, people need to get out, do an honest, hard day's work, and get their pay for that hard day's work. That's all we care about. We're not afraid to pay the people. We pay better than anyone in the industry, in our restaurant industry, and we just need people to get back to work.